rev up your engine. Today I'm going to talk about the Toyota CHR. You might not know anything about it, but when I'm done, you're going to know everything about them. For years, people say, oh, I'd like a Toyota, but they're boring and they're not cool looking. This isn't boring, it's definitely cool looking. It's basically the modernized version of my Matrix. Okay, the Matrix runs great. This thing is what, 14 years old, still runs like a top. But you gotta admit, it's not the greatest looking vehicle in the world. But check out the CHR. Now that's a good looking car, and it's a Toyota. I'm sure it's going to be extremely reliable. Now the owner of this just bought it because his Kia Soul with 80,000 miles was starting to fall apart. Typical for a Kia. These Toyotas can last 200, 300, 400,000 miles. This has got a good engine in it. It's a big 2-liter with a valve-matic system. Now this engine has 141 horsepower. To take that in consideration, my wife's old Matrix only has 126 horsepower. And you know what she says about it? She drives her Lexus almost all the time. And she said she loves the Lexus because it rides so well. But when she's in the mood to going fast, she drives the Matrix because she says it's zippy. It just wants me to drive it fast all the time. It's only 126 horsepower. Now, if you've been watching me in the past, you know I'm not a gigantic fan of CVT transmissions. And this does have a CVT transmission. But not just any CVT transmission. You can also put it in manual mode. This has a launch gear CVT. It actually launches in first gear with an actual gear. So it doesn't do that motorboat where you put on the motor and it kind of just slides along. No, this thing takes off, as you're going to find out soon. And check out the interior. It's pretty well thought out with some nice color schemes. Super comfy seats. I feel like I'm in somebody's comforter in a bed. These seats are so comfy. As we exit the vehicle, check the door jamb. What does it say? It says, made in Japan. You get a Japanese car, made by Japanese people in Japan. There's just something about the quality of it. And though technically this is called a subcompact vehicle, when you open it up, it's got plenty of room inside. Look. I fit inside here fine, and I'm no small guy. Your friends aren't going to whine. I don't want to ride in the back seat of that thing. There's no room. There's lots of room in this thing. But it's also very utilitarian. It's got a lot of space. And when you flip the seats down, you got all kinds of space. You can sleep in this thing, camp in it. It's not just a cool looking toy that you can use on the weekends. You can use this every day for whatever you want. Very smooth just driving around. You wouldn't think you're in a compact vehicle. I don't know why they call them subcompacts. It kind of amazes me. But it's got a very good ride and very good handling. And the twist, when you step on the gas, hey, these things can go. They got decent acceleration. And the CVT transmission gets phenomenal gas mileage. Now realize, this is what they call a subcompact, technically a tiny SUV. SUVs get horrible gas mileage, right? Well, this thing, you can squeeze out about 30 miles a gallon on a highway when you're driving 70 miles an hour or so. And it gets about 25 miles a gallon in town. That's not bad. If you remember a video I did a while back, I had a Lexus big SUV, and that thing didn't even get 22 miles a gallon on a highway. And if you want to have fun, you can put it in the manual mode, and you can shift it down, you can shift it up, all you want. I mean, it's pretty cool. Now, it may look like a race car on the outside. It's not a race car on the inside, but it's got plenty of zip to get you where you're going. And it's a Toyota. Guess what? It's not going to break down. That's why he got rid of his Kia Soul. It only had 80,000 miles on it, and it was falling apart. And it's actually a surprisingly quiet vehicle for its size. It's a lot quieter than my Matrix. I mean, I'm half deaf anyway, so to me it doesn't really matter. But my wife kind of whines about that and always says, oh, I don't want to take the Matrix, let's get the Lexus out. And I'll say, I don't feel like moving the Matrix, but guess what? I end up moving the Matrix. She wants to ride around in the Lexus. With this, I don't think she'd mind. The owner of this got it because his Kia was falling apart at 80,000 miles. So he buys this, and he's blown away by the difference in how much better it rides, how it doesn't make any noise, And really, his drive out was about $20,000. What are you going to get for $20,000 these days with Japanese Toyota quality that looks as sharp as this and runs that well? Just price around. New, not used. You're going to get your money's worth if you want something that lasts forever. And with the launch gear, it doesn't have the problems that CVT transmissions do of, oh, you step on the gas and you feel like you're just slipping and sliding all over the place. This isn't that way. The Toyota engineers figured that launch gear out. And for that matter, so did Honda. The Honda ones don't anymore either. And they figured the style engine out. Nice alloy wheels. Plenty wide enough tires for traction and cornering. And I have to say, I like the front end. It's got some style, almost like the Mustang Cobra that I had years ago. And they're starting to get rid of that insane scowl that they put on the Lexus years ago. Thank you, Toyota. I hated that scowl. Great cars, scowling front ends, not my cup of tea. So if you didn't know what a CHR is, now you do, so you can make a wise choice. If you're looking for what they call a subcompact SUV, but it doesn't really seem subcompact to me driving it around. Because remember, these little Toyotas, they're not ugly anymore. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Hestel Silva says, mate, I got a 350Z 2005 Trek model, but it's got engine ticking noise. What's the best way to fix it? I tried oil flush, but the mechanic says it needs to change a motor. As those Nissan engines age, they do have a tendency of making some noise. It depends on how bad the noise is. I recently worked on a 350Z that had 170,000 miles, and you could hear some valve train noise, but it wasn't really bad. Now, the guy's saying you got to change the motor, right? Well, yours is still running. Drive it. What the heck? Then when it blows, put another engine in. I've seen them tick for years. And to actually fix them, very few guys these days know how to fix an engine that complex and fix it correctly. And the cams and the parts cost so much money. Most guys gamble with a used engine that isn't making any noise, and they put that in. But they can make noise for years. I've had customers with those Z's, they made noise for years and years and years. It was a valve noise. Sometimes if you go in and you find out that, hey, you know, maybe it just needs a couple parts inside there, maybe a valve spring's going bad or something, then you could try to fix that. But if it's a really loud noise and it's coming from all the valves, they'd all need repair. And then my advice would be just drive it. It goes out, put another engine in. Then it could still run a long time, you know. It's a 350Z track model, 2.5. It's a whole vehicle. So if you're using it as a toy, it might go that way for years. Mario Hernandez says, Scotty, what insurance companies do you recommend? Well, price around, get the best deal you can positively find. They all want your money. They all don't want to pay any money out if you get in a wreck. That's just how it goes. I've switched around my whole life. I just now go by price. I don't get in wrecks. I don't smash up cars. So I just look for the lowest price. I'm older. I don't drive that many miles. And if you don't drive that many miles, check around. You can get insurance that if you drive less than like 5,000 miles a year, you can get a much better deal. Depends on, you know, what you want. But they're all out to get as much money out of you as possible and pay out as little. So, you know, don't go with fly-by-night ones. I mean, I'm always using normal ones like State Farm or the Hartford. I use regular ones. I don't do some nutty one I never heard of, but just basically go by price. Who can give you the best deal? Play them against each other. That's what I always do because I never make any claims. I'm just looking for the best deal I can possibly get. David Contreras says, Scotty, what's better, a Honda Odyssey or a Toyota Sienna? Okay, Toyota Sienna by far. Odyssey's transmissions blew up. They got frame rot in the back up north with salts on the road. I've seen the cams break on the engines. None of those things happen to Toyota Siennas. The Toyota Siennas are so much better made vans. You're going to pay a little bit more for them, but you get so much more. 400,000 miles, generally relatively trouble-free. Don't buy a Honda Odyssey van. I didn't have a single customer ever buy one that was happy in the end with one. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.